Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Sensory Moments. This is the podcast where we talk all things sensory. And I'm your host, Shruti. And co hosting with me is Spark Sensory Director and Promoter, Sandeep Buddhiraja. And today we have a very special guest, Mr. Shailesh Pateriya. Shailesh is the Associate Director of R&D and Consumer Technical Insights of Tata Consumers. Welcome, Shailesh.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for calling in.
So,
Oh, you're awesome.
yeah. So, Shailesh, can you tell us a bit about like your background? Like, how did you get into consumer insights? Like, what like brought you? What was interesting for you in this field?
Okay, so my full name is Shailesh Pateriya. I have about 19 years experience now in consumer market and technical insight. Why am I saying it differently? Because all these three are very different. Lot many people do not differentiate between this. But in my 19 years journey, I started my career as a trainee in a pharmaceutical industry. That was a college placement and so on. But within, I think, 12 to 15 months, I realized this is not something which I really want to do. Then somehow I got a call from IMRB International. So now it is Kantar. Those days it was IMRB International. And I joined there as in the research team, in quantitative research team. And there I realized that this is something which I really wanted to know or wanted to get into. There were a couple of reasons. I mean, in the research industry, wherein you get to meet a lot of new people, you go out, you travel to different places, and so on. I worked there for about a year. Then I was fortunate to get into Hindustan Unilever Limited in Delhi, and then gradually was transferred to Mumbai office. I worked there on different categories. In HPC, which is home and personal care, my largest stint was with foods team, supporting brands like Knorr and Kisan. I worked there for about six and a half years, and my another or second largest stint was with PepsiCo R&D team in the sensory and consumer product insights team, where I was handling largely beverages and nutrition portfolio for technical insights, initially for India, and then I also supported Middle East, largely Saudi Arabia and Egypt region, for all the technical insight support for the R&D organization. Post that, I joined Dr. Reddy's as the lead for CMI. So in my entire 19 years experience, I have been on both the sides of research, I would say, a CMI as well as CTI. So yeah, that has been my story. And currently I'm with the Tata Consumer Products Limited, based out of Bangalore, heading consumer and technical insights, supporting foods and beverages business. So that's about me. By qualification, I am BSc in Computer Science Honors. I have done my MBA in International Business. I have also completed postgraduate diploma in Data Science and Statistics. So that's about me.
Okay. That is a very diverse profile, I must say. Like you have worked with like literally every single bit of the company, like all around. So like when that happens, Shailesh, can you tell me like when it comes to like product, what are like the recent trends? Like how do you like keep up with like industry? How do you know like these are the trends that the consumer wants?
So look, I mean, consumer trends, typically, I would say in any established or structured organization, the idea generation. So consumer trends usually are used during the innovation stage or working upon on your core product portfolio. These are the two stages largely to my knowledge. Now, in the innovation stage, it is led by, I would say, different function. It's a joint collaboration between marketing, CMI, as well as R&D, and CTI is also part of it, where you want to understand how are consumers moving their choices or their preferences among such a huge portfolio of or the choices they have in front of them. If you ask me, the working on core, wherein you need to identify the opportunities basis the trends which you see online or through marketing friends or through research reports, is something which is an ongoing process. And when you meet consumers, when you really conduct consumer immersions, you want to identify or really pinpoint the opportunity areas on your core products or identify any innovation opportunities. Now, in terms of trends, in my last 5 to 6 years, I think pre and post COVID, I have seen, especially, and I'm largely talking about food and beverages industry. And in my previous stint with Dr. Reddy's, I was heading CMI, so I also know a bit about nutraceutical industry. Now, there are two kind of consumers which I'm seeing largely in India. One who are health seekers, and one who are variety seekers, I would say. Although there is a fine line and there's a lot of overlap between these two set of consumers, but health seekers definitely, because post COVID consumers have gathered a lot of knowledge, a lot of awareness about the health credentials, or the importance of health in their life. So nowadays, in fact, one of the trends we identified during my Dr. Reddy's days is the consumers or the normal people do not want a lengthier life. What they want is an active life. That is a huge shift and change what we have seen. Now, among health seekers and variety seekers, there are a lot of words nowadays which has come into the picture. Now, for health, it is probiotics, because a lot many people are suffering from gastric and acidity issues. Immunity has also picked up a lot after COVID. People want to have a better immunity. They also want to give the best products to their kids so that they gain immunity and they do not fall sick quite often. And another set of consumers which I am seeing nowadays are variety seekers, especially I would say younger generation, or Gen Z, what we call. They are more aware about the different cuisines which are available, whether in India or outside India. Even within India, there is a lot of experimentation which is happening with regional cuisines. Now, today I'm in Bangalore. I am seeing a lot of specialty outlets or specific outlets opened for litti chokha from Bihar, or specialty outlets for chole bhature from north in south. And people are latching onto it. It is not only North Indians who are actually entering into these restaurants and enjoying the food. And what they promise, what these restaurants are usually promising is the authenticity, is the real taste from that region bringing onto this part of India. So I would qualify them into two parts: health seekers, variety seekers. However, at times variety seekers are also seeking health credentials into the products. So you would see a lot of trends in beverages from international markets, so like Thai sauces, and in fact your beverages which are refreshing beverages like kombucha, panache, and lot many beverages which are there in the market, which does not need any promotion. They are only on the Instagrams and other social media websites, and consumers are trying it. So consumers are not refraining to try it as if I am dying tomorrow. They want to know and try everything. Taste is paramount, and health is something which consumers really want to. I mean, one is healthy product, second is less harmful product. So I think less harmful is also one of the trend. And lot many companies are also talking. I mean, you just get one video from a person about sugar content in one of the nutritional drinks, and then it causes a lot of damage to the brand. So consumers are aware, they are looking onto the packs, they understand the health credentials, and they are bothered about it. So though gone were the days wherein whatever company sells and consumer will pick it up. Those are not the days now anymore. One has to really understand what consumer want, provide taste as well as less harmful ingredients or less harmful overall proposition.
Okay. So, love, how you said, Shailesh, like consumer nowadays are smart. They know what they want, and if it's like how do you say, like a trend that is in the market already. For example, as you said, kombucha. So people know oh yeah, kombucha, and they might have tasted already. So why would someone who, like, for example, is launching a new business in kombucha, or like is a new company in India, why would, like, how would sensory would help them? Like, because consumer would be like, I'll just have a taste, and if it not, it will go back to R&D. Why do I need to have sensory to, make it better?
I think sensory, if you ask me in one sentence, help design the product. Now, help designing the product, you need to understand the authenticity, or have to have authentic benchmark in place. Now, if marketing or the other functions come up with the idea, okay, kombucha is something which we are observing as a trend through different social media websites and other reports, then it is the R&D or the sensory team's job to really come up with the flavor which consumers would associate it with the real kombucha. I'm just taking an example. And it applies to all the innovations which are or I would say breakthrough innovations which are happening in market, like kombucha, which is not an Indian traditional drink. If it is, say, lassi, then Amul and Mother Dairy would have done it by now. They know the taste, and it is not a great science. But kombucha, pinache, or even I heard there is a drink called kwas. There are a lot many drinks which are nowadays trending on cafes in different parts of India. Now, one has to understand that what is the design of this product. Now, to understand the design, you have to have the real authentic uh, signature of the product in your mind. And once you have that benchmark in hand, one should be able to give very specific and inputs in terms of how are you going to design. So a CTI person or a sensory person can only give you the attributes and how is this product perceived by the consumers, either through a technical or sensory expert panel, or visiting some consumers, or even observing consumers having such product in cafes. So sensory is not limited only to expert panel evaluation or doing a consumer research. It also involves a person to really go and observe how it is being consumed, why it is being consumed, and what are the expectations from such a product. So I hope I was able to give you some context on around this.
Yeah. I mean, that is true that like when it comes to sensory, it's a very big field. Like people, first of all, like I think in India, people don't really have an idea how sensory works. So, and to find out, like there are a lot of things that you can do. It's a different thing. But like, as you said, like it's different in our industry. How do you, like, as someone who works in like technical insights, how do you like link sensory to every single thing? Like how does it work with marketing, or like how it grows, and how does it help with the product to develop?
Sure, absolutely. So I believe sensory is one of the integral part of entire product life cycle. Now, whether it is in the form of a formal function or it is somehow done by either the NPD team members. When I say NPD, is the new product development team members, R&D folks, or it is at times done by CMI. But sensory has always been part of the product launches or the entire product life cycle. So if I tell you that in the innovation stage funnel, there are typical 4 to 5 stages, which most of the large organizations follow, even smaller organizations follow. First, to begin with, is the idea generation stage, wherein you have multiple ideas and you want to shortlist it to, say, potential ideas which the team will work upon. At this stage, if you are in a cluttered market and if you are working on a category which has a lot of competitions, then how the sensory helps. Lot many people I have seen are not, like you said, are not aware of the sensory capability as such. Now, there you have techniques like napping or free choice sorting, which a CTI person should be able to lead and help and segment the products in such a way that you identify the opportunity areas. It gives you a two-dimensional space wherein you identify, okay, if this is the category, if I'm just taking the example of, say, biscuits. If this is the category and this is how the brands are placed in a two-dimensional space on XY axis, then what are the opportunity areas? And within that opportunity area, if you have the capability, you can definitely proceed, or you want to play into masses category. So niche, premium, masses, that is something which you can identify through such techniques. Not entering into CMI space or marketing space where you start working upon concept and marketing aspects. No, it is pure product segmentation at the idea generation stage. Now, when it comes to feasibility, which is the second stage of the innovation stage gate funnel, wherein you have some idea about, okay, this is the segment we are going to work upon. Then you have some prototypes and you actually try to understand how are you going to benchmark it with your market leader. Or if there is no market leader at all, then how are you going to match the expectations of the consumer? There you get the help from the QDA panel, or quantitative descriptive analysis, or sensory expert panel. You describe the product, you create spider charts, do the benchmarking versus different products available in the market. If there is no competition available, then you identify or understand the source of business from marketing. You benchmark it, and then you come up with very solid and specific inputs. Okay, this is how your prototype is faring versus the other products. So this is stage 2. Then comes the development stage. Therein, most of the time, then R&D has developed or say have finalized the prototypes, couple of prototypes. You take it to consumers, do consumer immersion, or at times you do a blind product benchmarking, quantitative studies, understand what all are the attributes which are driving your preference versus the competition. How are you faring versus competition? Now, this is typically there also, it is not only about blind product testing. One has to understand the preference drivers. And for that, a CTI person or a sensory person has to have or learn a lot of not a lot, but at least some bit of statistics as well. One need to understand what is regression. One need to understand whether it's a multivariate regression. How are you going to what is the significance level, whether 90%, 95%, or one tail, two tail? What kind of test are you going to do? One has to have all this basic level of understanding to really come up with meaningful findings. Otherwise, researches are happening from lot many from past. Then once you have the final development or the product in hand, then comes either the scale up stage, or many times companies have direct launch and learn. Then at this scale up stage, you also define the product specs and the sensory protocols for that product going forward. So therein the sensory benchmarking, again the sensory analysis, define, okay, what are the parameters you are going to assess this product on. And once you have launched the product, the post launch monitoring also is part of, I would say, the CTI function, or the technical insights person, where you assess the product performance versus key competition over a period of time. So I think one of the organization I worked 3 years back has this fantastic best practice of conducting blind product benchmarking every quarter, diligently, without fail. And then you keep assessing the performance of your product. The moment it starts seeing a decline on scores, immediately the R&D will put into action and say, okay, what is happening? Why? Because the company has to be extremely sensitive about the product acceptability or likability by the consumers. The moment it fails with the competition, then you don't have right to win in marketplace. Then immediately CTI will start investigating, okay, what is happening in the market. And at the same time, the quality protocols, the plant quality monitoring, there also you have a lot of role by sensory inputs, wherein you guide and literally lead the way plant quality is going to be monitored. Whether are there any batch by batch differences, how is it performing versus the gold standard, and so on. So sensory plays a role throughout the innovation stage gate as well as post launch monitoring, wherein I would say even the other functions of research usually do not play such a big role. So sensory is extremely important.
Thank you for that explanation, Shailesh. That cleared a lot of things. I would like to know if Sandeep have any questions for you. Sandeep? Sandeep, your mic is on.
Okay, sorry. One, I have a compliment for you, Shailesh. Whenever you decide to hang up your boots, academics, you explain things very well. It's almost professorial. It's very nice explanation. You don't really have PowerPoint behind you, so it's comes out very well. At least I understood, and since my IQ level is not very high, then I assume that everybody else will understand. I want to take a step back. There are also other questions, but I will park them for now. Do people, when you're talking corporates and you've been in some of the blue chip corporates, Pepsi and I think, do people really understand sensory, or is it only blind product testing? As a marketing thing, people really understand sensory, or what are the myths around sensory and what are the understanding around sensory?
Okay, so I'll take first question first.
Yeah.
Common understanding among, I would say, business leaders.
Sure.
So sensory is very clear among R&D folks, and there is no doubt about it. So most of the R&D leadership team and the category leads who work on different functions and categories, they have very clear understanding about the role of sensory science, and they have some understanding of what all tools are available, what can be used. But when it comes to CMI, or when it comes to marketing, or to at the top level, the business leaders, I think there the overall understanding. So they understand the importance of sensory, but how is it going to contribute to the business? How is it going to contribute and really help you design a product in a way that it has a larger acceptability or mass acceptability, is, I think, at times is missing, because this function overall is not very popular in India. I'm talking specifically about India, and in fact I can also generalize it to entire Middle East as well, because I worked on in that area for a long time. uh, when it comes to Southeast Asia, there I think this function is very much evolved, especially in countries like Singapore and Thailand. In these regions, you have very strong technical insights team, and they know the importance of, and that is how I think that translates into big brands, I would say. Because when you have a very strong technical alignment between technical and insights team, you capture the trends beforehand, you take proactive actions, and you do not let your product quality deteriorate over a period of time, because there is someone who is custodian, who is managing, and who is monitoring continuously. Okay, this is something either going wrong, or this is something you have to manage at a regular basis. That is the current understanding. In India, at times I would say, even the business leaders feel that if you have a sensory expert panel, you can actually skip consumer researches, large scale consumer researches, because most of the time large scale consumer researches are seen as very time taking activity. It costs a lot of money. I will not be able to achieve timelines, and hence at times sensory is also seen as a deterrent. I can say that it is also seen as an impediment, which restricts team to achieve timelines and launch product or reach to the market faster. These are some of the myths. So I'm coming to your next question. Some of the myths or misconceptions what people have. However, there are large organizations where I've worked in past, which I took the name recently. They are very strong believer of this function because they have seen the importance. However, it has not been able to, I would say, project it in a way wherein the industry understands what all what is the impact we are making to the product and thereby to the larger brands. So few organizations I can definitely name: Unilever, PepsiCo, where I've worked for a very long time, are very strong believers of technical insights. They follow it diligently. In fact, without sensory approval, product does not proceed to next steps. So these are, but there are other organizations which usually I think now they have started valuing it. I would say, especially after the COVID era, maybe in last 5 to 10 years, wherein there are a lot of influx of new startups in food and beverage industry. They know the importance of consumer changing consumer taste profiles, their needs, because they are variety seekers, and they want to launch the best tasting product with some credentials. Now, to achieve that, you need to have very good understanding of consumers and your competition benchmark. Now, to achieve that, you need a person who is expert in sensory. Until now, I think I would say before 10 years, it was largely handled by NPD guys or the product development team members. They say, okay, what is sensory? Tasting hi to karna hai. Okay, it is just the taste and I will proceed. Or at times, like you said, that other functions knows best, because end of the day, they are they have the interface with consumers. Third is a lot of time. It takes time. It takes money. I do not have time. I can't really have it. Or I will do only one research now. Why will I do multiple researches? Okay. I will only club the sensory part with larger concept product test, and there I will get to know how is it performing, and that is okay. So many a times it has been, I mean, few, I would say, leaders try to bypass or skip this process to combine it with something else, which is going to equally take time and money, and do not pay much, I would say, or do not understand the much value of sensory valuations.
Thank you so much. You said QDA, or the quantitative descriptive analysis.
Yeah.
Do people, again, means I know there are lots of companies which are using it and the way you're using it, and I don't want to pass any comment on, but is it really done the way it should be done, or again people do take shortcuts to because getting panelists trained, getting having paying individual attention to every panelist is a pain, but making sure they all score similarly is a challenge. How do you think people take it, and what's your experience in doing that?
So it is difficult. You rightly pointed out. It is difficult. It is not an easy task to really set up a expert panel, and then having a consistent panel first of all, because they are end of the day normal people. They just have superior sensory capability. So I would, even before going to whether how do you handle the panel, I would say screening the panel is also a very very big task. It has to be done very uh, diligently, and one should pay 100% seriousness and attention to it. Selecting those people is an important task. Now it requires effort, a lot of effort. It also requires money. You have to invest behind it, and but the gains or the advantages are significant, and I think uh, that should definitely trade off with the money you are going to spend. Now screening panel, I think, is one of the very very important jobs. Maintaining a panel, consistent panel, and the way it is done right now, I would say there are two three reasons for it, Sandeep. In India, there are not many partners or not many agencies, if I may call, who are capable to do the QDA analysis, or even so say spectrum analysis, or quantitative descriptive analysis, which is the profiling, product characterization or product profiling versus the certain benchmark, or even if there is no benchmark versus other products in the market or products which people have. That is first part. Now the way it is done, I would say it is done at few places in the most pristine manner. In few places, uh, because end of the day you have to also cater to the business requirements, and time is the key. I mean, and one product sensory analysis or QDA profiling will take not less than 6 weeks,
Sure.
4 to 6 weeks, because the training takes some time, and then you have to really identify the right samples and then benchmark. But I think now with more understanding and more, I would say, training tools which are available, it can be achieved, or rather shorten it by two, and can be finished it in 2 weeks, is basis my understanding. Now one really have to understand the business requirement and also the product profile, I would say. So whether pristine or not, but at least the awareness have increased. People have understood. Now that spider chart is still complicated for many people to understand, and the significance testing, and why is it done in this way? Can I only see the numbers? Can we make a table and then highlight the differences? Those are the challenges, I think, which this function will overcome over a period of time. But the sensory professional or the sensory scientist should understand the business language. If you keep talking in your technical language and giving and saying and presenting something which is alien to the stakeholders, I think it will not help in any manner. So one has to uncomplicate, and one has to really simplify the findings and relate it with business. So every CTI person, I would say, has to wear a hat of CMI or marketing as well. You cannot just work in your own area, in your own function, and believe that whatever I'm doing is the best, and it is. So working on project brief never helps. One has to have the larger objective or understand the larger objective of the initiative, and then should be able to relate it with the business outcome. Not only spider chart is not going to help anyone.
Great. Uh, I have two more questions. Sorry, Shruti, I've taken over the conversation. Uh, One is a lighter question and one is a more engrossing, engaging question. So I'll take the lighter question. You're in BSc Computer Science.
Yeah.
You jumped from computer science to do an MBA, and then you came into IMRB, and then you have come into a CTI position later on.
Yeah.
So that's quite a few jumps. And how difficult it is for a non-food, and you're talking food and beverages, so you must get into different ingredients and what this ingredient would do and what would happen. How difficult it is for somebody who's a non-food science technical person like Shruti to get into these things.
So I would say this is also one of the myths. that only food technologists can do a sensory job or a technique or a CTI job. It is not the case. Anywhere in the world, I have been to in PepsiCo. I have attended few trainings in US and UK, and I've also attended Pangborn's and sensory science symposium couple of times in Asia as well as in Europe. It is not the case. I mean, to understand the technical aspect, what you need is the zeal. What you need is the willingness to really get into the subject and your eye for detail. It does not really need to be an engineer or to be a food technologist to really understand the technical aspect of the products. No, what you need to understand is the consumer research or technical insights integration into the overall business objectives. It has nothing to do with whether I know the food science in detail or any other subject, if I have the command or not. No, what I need is the consumer lens, unbiased, and I would say if I am able to simplify and uncomplicate things, make it relevant for the business. And it is the integration of consumer insights, I would say, Sandeep. It has nothing to do with technical aspect. I mean,
Okay.
so qualification does not matter. If you have the zeal, if you have the passion for understanding and uncovering new areas, new avenues, you have passion for meeting new people, you have passion for uncovering business objectives into and trying to help and answer the critical questions, I think that's what it needs.
It is so startlingly similar. Around the same time, last time we were recording the first episode, Nirmala, who's with Mondelez, talked also about passion, and that's the most critical aspect to do this job. And
Yeah.
she kept on talking passion and zeal, and that's what you're exactly saying the same thing. So it's we attended a presentation last April where somebody from market leader said many Indias. So we are now developing products for many Indias. There are 5 different Indias for us, and we actually have 5 different products in this India. So what you'll find in Kolkata is not the same as Chennai, and then and then you have a different competition in each of them.
Yeah.
So for me, as a sensory person, and I'm a non-technical person, again, I do not really know how I would deal in a Sensi QDA panel. Obviously, I can have different prototypes and different product tested, but then it would become a fairly more extensive exercise, because if you pick up 4 or 5 products from each region, you're talking 20 products to be evaluated by one Sensi panel.
Yeah. So you are in fact saying that there are products which are regional and different versus
sold under the same brand name.
Sold under. I would say even there are differences in SKUs.
Yeah. Oh, that is definitely there.
So there are lot many differences, but organization always defines a range which you are going to operate, and then you have a specifications beyond which or below than that you will not operate. And these specifications are very clearly defined with the help of NPD team members, quality, as well as the CTI. Now, what is the role of CTI there? CTI identifies the gold standard product. Now, when we say gold standard, I'm sure, so gold standard, everybody understands. Gold standard product, or if not, if in absence of gold standard, you have the product which has the largest acceptability among consumers. That becomes your gold standard. And within that gold standard, you operate within a range. So those specifications are very clearly defined in large organizations, and then you operate within that. So everyone has that clear understanding. I'll not produce anything which does not meet my specification. At times you have to discard the batches altogether. So I don't think it's a big challenge. Many organizations, especially in this category, which is dependent upon crops, which is dependent upon monsoon, which is dependent upon many external factors which you can't control. Even the prices in commodity business plays a big role in the blend or the final formulation which is going in the market. So it is very well handled, and with the experience, I think in last so many years, all the organizations are able to maintain that.
Sure. I will hand over to Shruti to take the next steps. I mean, I assume she has a lot of questions, and I've been keeping her quiet. So.
So my next question for you, Shailesh, is that, like you said, how you two discussed that how from like regional wise, you have to like, differentiate products and everything. How is it like for, because you are working for an Indian company now, how is like, or what do you expect your company to, excel in what others are doing internationally? Or like, do you feel like this should have been in India, or this has a big scope in India for right now?
So you're saying in terms of products?
In terms of yeah, like what we can do more in product testing, or how we can excel, or something that they are like international like markets are doing already, and you feel like this could all help Indian markets.
Okay. So in terms of trends mapping, and I would say more smarter ways of research or generating insights, I would say internationally, there are a lot of capabilities and tools available in data science, in predictive analytics, in machine learning space. Wherein I think in India, due to lack of knowledge and due to lack of capability, although to my knowledge, I know there are a lot many agencies who are trying to achieve something, but there is nothing concrete or nothing which has been become popular uh, for everyone to know, and which has been validated over a period of time that yes, this model works. So if you ask me what things India should really or in fact in this entire region, I would say not only India, the South Asia region should really be capable of is the predictive analytics, and you map the sensory data with the consumer research, quantitative large scale consumer researches, and come up with predictive analytics is something I think that will help business leaders take calculated risk, that will help business take quick decisions, that will also help business in terms of shortening the overall timelines. And I think, yeah, these are some of the tools which I am yet to see, although lot many organizations are trying in their own capacity. I've heard big organizations, even some of the big agencies are also trying out. But I think their validation is yet to really see the light of the sun at this moment.
Okay.
Also, sorry. Also, what happens,
So my
Shruti?
next question was actually really, no, no.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Shruti. What does happen is that India is complicated. India is not one India. There are different Indias. So look, when we talk West and we talk predictive analytics, there are 10,000 retail stores in entire Britain.
Yeah.
There may be
Mhm.
10,000 stores in the western suburbs or maybe even Andheri in Mumbai. So
Yeah.
Yes.
again, where people buy still sachets cost you 2 rupees, 1 rupees, even 75 paise. So where you have brands which are coming to 5 rupee packs from a 50 rupee pack, because we've also, as a marketers, we want to cover uh, our backside and we don't want to take a risk and lose any volume. When you do all those things, when you go to a Tesco to buy a soap,
Yeah.
you're going to get a batch, you're going to get big bottles. Not everybody buys big bottles here. So the predictive analytics works where the input measures are standardized.
Yeah.
Here the input measures are such and the consumer behavior is such. If you today in Pune go into a household which is uh, old Punekar and you go into a household which is again a Marathi household but more suburban, and you go into a Punjabi household and you go into a Tamilian household, are you going to find the same decision making? But if you get into a typical American household, whether they're of a Polish background or Italian background, and they come 40 years, 60 years, 100 years back, the decision making is pretty similar. So, so the complication is not about the tools or the agency's capabilities. Obviously, also marketers in India don't like to pay too much, so that's a minor thing altogether. But India is a complicated market. Similarly, for if you go to Indonesia, if you're going to Thailand, and if you're going to Philippines, there are a lot of mom and pop stores. So there is a brand, I can't name it, but a sandwich biscuit brand, cream sandwich biscuit brand, which sells almost exclusively from modern trade in Indonesia. They're not there in traditional trade. They're not there because traditional trade sells only for a certain range. They don't want to keep a very expensive product because then nahi bika, to kya karenge?
Hmm.
So, and also that traditional trade typically buys the product. So it gives money upfront. When you go to
Yeah.
Walmart and give the products, you give it at consignment sale 180 days,
Yep.
including Proctors of the world. They give the product and they get the money after 180 days once the stock is sold. 180 days. So there is a difference in the way economies run, and as marketers, as product, and what is happening is that product is becoming more and more important, which is why sensory is becoming more important, because attention spans are lessening. We have so many things to see. While you three of us are talking, we can still see our mobile phone, we can browse through Instagram. You both are on spotlight, so you can't. But that's something which is going to change, because only thing which is going to count at the end of it within next 5 years is product experience. If your product experience isn't great, or isn't, when I say great, you can be targeting only a certain segment. You don't have to go mass. You don't have to launch something which, Kashmir se Kanyakumari tak. That's not going to happen ever again.
Mm.
That's not going to happen ever again. But yes, product is going to matter more, and product is going to become important. Indian markets is different. It's difficult. Let's put it that way. It's difficult. There is no one key which says, look, ये calibrated model है, basis का लगा दो. No, that doesn't really work that way. Sorry. Go on,
And
Shruti.
it is easier said than done, Sandeep. That we have a lot of mini Indias, and then you can have regional brands, and it brings a lot of operational challenges. It brings a lot of complexities into the entire system, supply chain system. So most of the organizations aspire to do it. How many are able to really translate it is something I think is a case study in itself. And coming to your next question around the predictive analytics. So what I mean by predictive analytics in terms of when you can actually predict, say, consume, because at this moment there are three things happening. One is the sensory analysis of a product. Then after all the valuation investigations, you hand it over to, say, marketing or CMI for the final validation. Now this final validation is either basis 2 study or any other volumetric study or concept product fitment study. Now within this step, there is also at times when you have to shortlist the prototypes. Among 2-3 prototypes, you have to finalize one prototype to finally proceed for the launch, or to hand it before you hand over to marketing. There, if you have some mechanism wherein, if basis the data what you have in hand for the same TG, for the same geography, for the same product profile, if you are able to input only sensory data, and with some level of confidence you can predict, okay, if this is the profile, this is going to be my consumer likability or consumer acceptability versus these products. And I do sensory for all other products as well. I come across a couple of agencies who are claiming to have this capability and able to give a, say, product simulator or some kind of predictive analytics Power BI dashboard, wherein because they have thousands of data at their backend, they have now mapped it versus the sensory profile of the products. Someone is doing sensory in USA, some are doing sensory within India, and so on. So I think this is one of the tools which actually can help, not shortcut as such, but actually can help take calculated risk with fair amount of confidence, and you can actually proceed without doing a consumer research. Although it does not necessarily eliminate the need of consumer research at final stage, but in somewhere in between, you can actually correlate sensory and product profile and consumer likability. I think should be an area to explore.
India is becoming in the scheme of things because global capability centers are largely shifting to India. So, so in terms of sensory, because you have lots of technical people, though you and I are not technical people, but a lot of technical people who are available, whether they have the right skill set or not. So my last question, so that's where I was coming from, but my last question is, do you have any advice or something to say to people who are students still, and whether they should look at sensory and why they should look at sensory at all as a career? Or a technical insights. Let's not say sensory, but technical insights. Yeah.
Sure. So my advice to all the potential candidates who aspire or who are actually looking up to this function as a growing and emerging trend in India, especially. And like you said, because of multiple reasons. A, because of the number of organizations, startups, the focus towards the product taste, it is now at the center. I would say it is not very difficult. It is very dynamic and very challenging on a daily basis. You don't get to do a monotonous job on a daily basis. You work on a project, finish and move fast. And what you gain is the story. What you gain is nice, very compelling stories about the brands, about the product life cycle, and the entire journey of your contribution to the business. So I would say definitely, if you have the passion of meeting consumers, if you have the passion of making an impact into the business, if you have really zeal to get into the details, understand the science, and then uh, uncomplicating it, simplifying it for the business to understand and take decisions, I think this is the field you should be in.
Thank you so much, Shailesh. Shruti, last vote of thanks.
Yeah. So, thank you, Shailesh. Thank you so much for being a very good, like, the way Sandeep said, like, you gave such a good explanation of everything. It was very articulate. We got a lot of things clear. And like, I think we should wrap it up now. What do you think,
Sure.
Sandeep?
Okay, great. Thank you. And like I said earlier as well, I'm really glad that somebody is really talking about sensory in India. Otherwise, it has always been under the carpet at the backstage. Sensory plays the role, but usually on the promotions and on the communication, you see something else. But it is the translation of sensory, I would say. I can definitely say. So one has to really understand, appreciate, and recognize this function. And a lot more people should join in. And thank you, Sandeep. I think this is the right time to really make this field popular, to really bring the people along and talk more about it, because if we don't learn from each other, we will not be able to really contribute to the society. So that's a note from my side. Thank you so much. A pleasure is
Thank you.
all mine.
Thank
Thanks, Shruti.
you.
Have a good day.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for being part of our podcast. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you like to know more about Sensory, please comment below. Till then, stay tuned for more episode of Sensory Moments.